Greetings. My name is Letitia Hensley, and I'm the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Director of Family and Community Engagement. We are excited that you are joining us today and know you will gain great insight from this session. At the conclusion of today's session, please provide feedback so that we can continue to support you with amazing sessions that will be provided throughout the year. Now, without further ado, we'll turn it over to our presenters.
We are so excited that you are joining us today for today's Lunch and Learn. We are talking today about preparing for the next step, a parent's role in middle and high school registration. But before we get into the presentation, I just want to share that if you need translation support, in the top right corner, you can click Captions and then click Show Live Captions and then select the language from the drop-down that best supports your need. Also, just a reminder on how to engage with us during the presentation. In the top right corner, you can click Q&A and type your question in the box. Questions will be monitored. We actually have a Q&A slide in the middle of our presentation, as well as at the end of our presentation, where we will pause to check for questions and take time to answer those then. Feel free to share your reactions throughout the presentation. We have someone that will be monitoring for that as well. And so again, we are just happy that you are with us today so that we can share this vital information with you. So, who are your presenters today? I am Tueri Dunton Forbes, School Counseling Program Manager for Middle and K-8 schools, and I have the pleasure of presenting with my high school counterpart today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Kristen Hodges, High School Counseling Program Manager.
So we want to hear from you. Your feedback is a gift. The district really values your feedback. And just a reminder that this bit.ly is the way that you can provide feedback on today's session or any session that you've participated in or watch on or listen to, I should say, on the demand feature. So starting off, how important parent involvement is. Parent involvement strengthens student school performance. And so I have a couple of quotes here from Ed Week that I found to be very vital to this information we're sharing today. Just a reminder that for decades, research around the world has shown that parent involvement and engagement with your child's education, including through parent-teacher conferences or parent-teacher organizations or even school events, as well as discussions at home, can lead to higher student achievement and better social-emotional outcomes. And then the second one points us to the at-home discussions, as mentioned in the first one, and encouragement surrounding school also has a positive impact on the student's achievement at all developmental stages, with the type of parent involvement being most effective at high school, of course, because at that age, they can engage in that level of conversation with us, but we want to start early with our students.
All right, let's go over our objectives for today. So first, parents and guardians will understand how to support and advocate for their student during the registration process. And then secondly, parents and guardians will understand the alignment between the district's 25-26 registration process and the North Carolina Senate Bill 193 as it relates to setting the stage as they prepare their students to transition to high school and their post-secondary plan. The content that we are going over today directly aligns with Goal 4 of our district's strategic goals around post-secondary readiness. And that goal reads, percent of rising 12th grade students will be on track to graduate from high school, enroll, enlisted, or employed will increase. We do not quite have that baseline data just yet, but we are hoping to do this by June of 2029. All right, our topics for today will include helping your student identify their strengths and interests, identifying the end goal, as well as mapping out a plan and figuring out how to get to that end goal.
So starting with helping your student identify their strengths and interests, we're going to start off focusing on middle school and how to prepare. So before I share best practices from a parent lens, I want to share with you what's going on inside your schools regarding the support of your school counselors. So with middle school, we know that before they start sixth grade, they are finishing up fifth grade. And so our elementary school counselors first expose them by doing a lesson with them in the classroom about transitioning from fifth to sixth grade. And then when they are in middle school, there are required franchise lessons that middle school counselors deliver with our middle schoolers. For sixth grade, it's organizational skills and strengths and interests. Those are 2 lessons that they do with them. For seventh grade, it is time management and career interest inventory. And for eighth grade, it is career interest to high school pathways and preparing for high school. And so school counselors also assist students and families with proper guidance for course selection, like through offering parent nights, maybe coffee with a counselor or info sessions to help you better understand how to support your student throughout the registration process. As parents, we encourage you to be intentional about the involvement throughout the process. I know sometimes when they get to middle and high school, we can think, we can be more hands off. They're getting older, they can handle this. And in some cases, that may be so, but a lot of the times our students still need us to be hands on, just in different ways. And so talking to your student about their interests, the lessons that they've been doing with their school counselors, is very important and helpful. You can have them pull up their career profile or responses in Naviance. They can log into that through their Chromebook from home as well. And then just staying connected to what's coming up at the schools regarding registration and events that are happening through Parent Square messages, parent engagement events, as well as the school social media pages. And then also completing the 2025-26 registration card with your student so that you can understand the courses that are available to them, but also help them understand what's available to them as well and the courses that they may want to consider based off of what they're planning to do moving forward.
All right, pretty similar at the high school level. On the left-hand side, you will see some best practices that school counselors are charged with doing with their high school students. And so we also have franchise lessons at the high school level. And by franchise lessons, this means that every student within our CMS high schools are getting the same exact information across the board so that it's equitable. These lessons include a ninth grade high school one-on-one lesson, and then a required 10th grade lesson that focuses on personality and helping students identify their strengths so that they can then match those strengths and interests to future careers, as well as courses that they can take in high school that align with those careers. We utilize Navient at the high school level as well. And this is a college and career readiness platform that students have access to that allows them to explore post-secondary options. They also can apply for scholarships through there, as well as internships. So that is another item that counselors are working with high school students on, as well as helping them just identify their interests and advising them to enroll in courses that align with those interests. That is very important because they're typically more successful, of course, in things that they have a true interest in. Counselors also host registration nights and provide registration materials to assist families in making informed decisions. So hopefully you have participated in some of those. If not, hopefully they are coming up and on your calendar. And then counselors also meet one-on-one with students after or during the advisement process. And this is a vital time for them to review the progress that they've made so far in high school, as well as map out a plan going forward on courses that they will take for their remaining time in the high school. So what can parents do? It's important, again, to talk to your student about what their interests are. Have them pull up those Navient assessments at home. They have access to do that anywhere, literally from their phone or any type of electronic device. They can pull up Navient and you can explore that with them. They should, as well as anything that the counselor may be going over with them. All of that information is going to be in the Navient platform and easily accessible. Also, stay connected with your student's school. Um, read your parent square messages, parent engaging events, including info sessions, coffees with the counselor, parent teacher conferences. You don't necessarily have to wait for the school to reach out to you, but you can reach out to the school counselor at your child's school or any teachers to just connect with them and learn more about what your child is doing in the classroom. And then join their social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and any other social media outlet many of our schools have, where they share information about what's going on their campuses. So make sure you are involved there as well. And then the registration cards should have come home, either physical cards or some directions on how to complete those registration cards should have come home with your child by now. So sit and chat with your student and come up with a healthy balance of core courses that are needed to meet graduation requirements, as well as some elective courses. And we'll get into how to select some of those elective courses moving forward in the presentation. So this slide talks a little bit about Senate Bill 193 that we mentioned in our objectives for today. This Senate bill was introduced last year, and it provides guidance to schools on supporting students in planning for potential careers. It is required for promotion for current 8th graders, and then it will also be required for 10th grade students. The document on the right does outline the guidance that school counselors, as well as other staff in the school building, should be following. But overall, this guidance is a roadmap that aligns students or is aligned to students' attributes and interests. It helps students really explore their career interests and various pathways, which helps them make better informed decisions as they are selecting their courses throughout high school. And it helps them to plan out their post-secondary options, which, is something that we, of course, want our students to do once they graduate from high school. We want them to have a plan, and having a plan in place requires a little bit of action and work on the front end. So we wanted you guys to have the information regarding the career development plans. This is something that both 8th grade and 10th grade counselors are working with students on completing this year. In addition to that, Navient, the College and Career Readiness platform previously mentioned, has a feature called Course Planner. And the Course Planner allows students and families to plan out multiple years of courses that are aligned with a student's interests, as well as graduation requirements that are needed to graduate from one of our CMS high schools. This allows also for students and families to track their academic progress. And so if you are not familiar with this, ask your student. They have been introduced to this at all of our high schools. Our high school counselors are familiar with this feature in the Navient platform. And so we wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of this feature, which is amazing to sit with your student and map out the courses that they will take throughout high school.
So now we're going to move on to identifying the end goal. On this slide, you'll see some key considerations for parents of middle schoolers as you are supporting your middle school student throughout the registration process. Some things that you should ask yourself or to discuss with them as you all are reviewing the options. What levels of math does the middle school offer that will ensure that your child is on track for their high school math options? What world languages are offered at the middle school? Do you need to make the school aware of any key barriers that your child's regarding your child's school performance? And so when you think about that particular question, it's around, do they have to have special or specific academic support needed through a 504, an IEP? Maybe you are new to the district, and so you're getting to enroll in one of our middle schools for the first time. Or if they're coming from the 5th grade, a lot of that information will travel with them. But as a parent, you just want to make sure that you make that connection with the middle school as well in regards to ensuring that they understand your expectations regarding the support or what you have received at the previous school, and understanding how that will align or continue or shift at the middle school level. The next question is my child interested in the career and technical education courses? There are some courses that are offered at the middle school level that middle schools are strongly encouraged to start taking in CTE, just to make sure they have that foundational exposure before they get to high school, because they will have so many more options when they get to high school. But if CTE or computer technology is something that you know that your student is strongly interested in, you definitely want to review those courses at the middle school level and see what your middle school is offering. Is your child interested in visual arts or performing arts? And so what courses of the middle school offer at that level also that would align with your child's interests and plans for moving forward? And then the last question is, does my child need exceptional children's support or more multilingual support? And that support is available at every level. But if your child does need that support, just being intentional about reaching out to the staff that provide that support in the school, just to make sure that, again, they are aware of your expectations as a parent, and you are aware of what's within their preview within the school to be able to provide, as well as what community organizations may be involved with the school to help provide some support around that also.
Very similar to middle school. At the high school level, these are some very important points to consider as you are chatting with your student at home and taking some things into consideration as you're selecting your courses. So what level of math does my student want to take by senior year? And that's important so that you can make sure you are fulfilling the prerequisites that are needed for that highest level math class that the student would enroll in it during their 12th grade year. What's the highest level of world language? Same thing, if your child if your child desires to get to one of our upper level world language courses, you would need to potentially double up to make sure that you have the prerequisites met in order to get to that higher level math or world language course. Is your child interested in dual enrollment courses? This is something that our high schoolers are privy to during their junior and senior years, where they are able to enroll in Central Piedmont courses. And so a lot of students will try to get in their 9th and 10th grade. During their 9th and 10th grade years, many of the requirements that are needed for graduation, so that they can free up space in their schedule to take those dual enrollment courses at a CPCC campus. Is your child interested in career and technical education courses? We have some amazing pathways in many of our high schools, including construction, cosmetology. And so is your child interested in pursuing any of those certifications and then planning on fulfilling that after they graduate from high school or going into that type of career? Is your child interested in visual or performing arts? So we have some amazing visual and performing arts programs at many of our high schools, and students sometimes have to sacrifice some electives in order to fulfill those desired pathways in our performing or visual arts programs. Does your child need exceptional children's support or multilingual learner support? That is something that is offered across the board. And so those are things to consider when you are selecting courses with your student on their registration card. So we are going to pause for a moment and see if you guys have any questions in our Q&A. I think we're good. The question that we did have has been
We
answered.
do have a few questions,
Okay.
Kristen, if we could just go over them
Okay.
really quickly. Some families might not have heard them. How do we find a list of the available classes at a school?
That's a really great question. For most high schools, they have registration websites, and on their registration websites, they list their registration cards. And on the registration card, they will list the courses that are approved for that specific grade level to enroll in.
And it's the
Thank you.
same for middle school as well. In most cases, they would have it posted to their website, or they would have sent that information out via Parent Square. However, if a parent missed it or needs the information to be available to them again, they can just reach out to their child's grade level counselor, and they can provide that information to them. Even the elementary fifth grade counselors have that information for rising sixth graders as well.
Thank you. When do students register for the 25-26 school year?
That is happening right now as we speak. Many of the high schools are completing the registration and advisement process right now, where they are meeting individually with their students on their caseloads. So if you're not sure if that has started for your school, you can reach out to your child's school counselor. But I'm hoping if it's a high school that some information has gone home, and you are aware that your child has participated either in their advisement meeting or has a future meeting coming up.
Have rising sixth grade students received their registration cards? And is this different for if they are attending a magnet middle school?
So some rising sixth grade students may have not received them yet. Many of them have, but some may have not yet, just because at middle and high school level, although they are preparing registration for those students that they're getting ready to receive during the transition years, rising sixth and rising ninth, they are also doing registration for their in-house students as well. And so in regards to just a timeline, the registration process, the counselors are working to have those completed by the middle of the middle of March. And so they should, if they have not yet received it, they should be receiving it soon. Again, the school counselor would be the best person to reach out to get that confirmed date of when that information is coming home, as well as confirmed dates of when parents can visit the school that your child is going to for parent registration night or information nights as well. Or if they are in a transition year, rising sixth or rising ninth, those middle school and high schools have scheduled open house nights for those new parents to come out and become familiar with the campus, also bring the students so that they can ask questions about what's offered there, the opportunities that are there, the expectations, things of that nature.
Thank you. How do parents gain access to the Navient platform?
Oh, great question. So you would need to reach out to your child's school. If it's a high school, I'll let Tawari chime in. But for high schools, the school counselor can look up your student's parent registration code. And then through that parent registration code, you can set up your own parent access to the platform. Or if you choose to, your student has access through their Launchpad, and you can access with your student their Navient platform through the Launchpad.
Thank you. Are
re-
gifted student, oh, sorry.
That's okay. For middle school, Naviance is new for us at the middle school level. Our high school counselors have had it for several years. It is new to the middle school as well as elementary this year. And so the focus this year has been getting the counselors as well as the students acclimated. So parents will have to have their student log into their account at home and be able to pull up the platform so that they can be able to see the various features that are available to them, the various opportunities to explore careers, even see what their responses have been to the career interest profiler. We are next, after getting the school counselors and the students acclimated, then being able to push out access like what Kristen just described for the high school level. We will be pushing that out shortly as the year progresses to our middle school parents as well.
Thank you. Are students within the gifted program automatically rolled into the middle school gifted program courses?
So gifted or talent development TD looks different at the middle school level. And so that is definitely what we was talking about, the supports or programs that your child participated in at the elementary school, making contact with that middle school to confirm what does that look like at the middle school level? How is that support different? Is it going to be evaluated based on scores that they are getting? Will they have to be tested again at the 5th grade year and finding out from that middle school so that you can make sure as a parent, what to expect in regards to your gifted student when they get to the middle school level?
Will 7th and 8th graders enrolled in algebra have access to the high school planning tool?
I need a little bit more clarity.
If this was your question, if you could please add additional details, we will loop back to it at the second Q&A section.
Okay.
If a world language is not offered in person at the high school level, can they take the course at school through NCVPS?
Oh, um, I don't want to give an answer to that. I know we have a world language department that provides guidance around NCVPS courses. I can speak from experience as a previous high school counselor. The world language courses on NCVPS were not recommended only because the student is not able to get the speaking component that comes with learning the language. And so my recommendation would be no to an NCVPS courses. However, if the course is not offered, then I would try to explore some other options for that student.
Thank you. If a family is moving during the summer, can you do the course selection within your new neighborhood high school before moving and registering with the established residency?
So if the student is moving, the address would need to be updated in Power School for that student's new assignment to show up and have access to register for the courses in Power School. So until the address is changed, it's still going to reflect the student's current home school.
Is there an option to complete certain courses from the community college at the middle school level?
There has not been an option to complete community college courses at the middle school level. Of course, has been options for middle schoolers to complete high school level courses such as Math 1 in their middle school. However, there are sometimes opportunities where middle school students will participate in certain college level programs, and the parent has the option to obtain that transcript, but it's more for when the child gets ready to enroll in college, so that whatever college they enroll in, they can then produce that at that college that they will enroll in. And that's me speaking from personal experience with my own daughter, but she will not be able to utilize that credit that she earned in her high school when she transitions to her high school next year.
So they're typically like an extracurricular
Yes.
or an enrichment activity.
Thank you. Where can families find more information on the CPCC dual enrollment process, including how the courses take place, such as in person or online?
We can share resources we have a one pager that we'll share at the end of our presentation, and I can make sure I get in there. However, at your child's high school, we have a career development coordinator. They're referred to as CDCs. That you could contact, and they're our liaison between our CMS high schools and Central Piedmont Community College. They can share more insight on the dual enrollment options and if they are in person or virtual.
Thank you. Um, how should how should we register for band as we are enrolling? Will this have a conflict with other electives?
So
Is
in
this
the
middle
middle,
or high?
oh,
Oh, go ahead.
at the middle school level, your school counselor will be able to explain that to you in regards to how it's set up in their school. So band is a year-long commitment. And so if your student is interested in also taking a foreign language, which is normally a year-long commitment as well in the middle school, then the school may have a certain schedule set up for those particular students, or you and your child may find yourself in a situation where you have to make a decision about which one is a priority for your student, because it may not be possible for them to take both year-long courses because they still have to take PE every year and then an additional semester elective as well. So it depends on the school, and I say that because I know some of our magnet schools that have middle grades do have a framework set up where those students that are taking a language year long are able to take the language, and then they also can be a participant in orchestra or band. But some of our traditional middle school 6th through 8th grade that may not have a magnet component, it is somewhat difficult for them to offer the two sometimes. Some have worked it out and some have not. So that will definitely be a question I would lift up to the middle school counselor to see if that is an option for your student at the school that they are going to for middle school.
Wonderful. We do still have a good amount of questions in the Q&A. If you want
Okay.
to continue with the session, we can address all questions at the conclusion.
Okay. Sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get into mapping out a plan for your student. That will require us to, of course, know and understand what is needed to graduate from high school. And so we will, thank you, Swear. We are going to move into what is needed to graduate. It's important for you guys to understand this so that you can help your student properly select courses as you are going through the registration process. So 4 English credits are needed, 4 math credits are needed, 3 science credits, 4 social studies, only 1 credit of PE. So most 9th grade students get that out of the way, and then a total of 8 electives. And that equates to 24 total credits that a student would need to graduate from a CMS high school. It's also important for parents to understand, what does my student need to be promoted? At the high school level, it's a little bit different. Promotion is based on credits, and so it's important for you all to understand what your child will need to move and progress through high school and graduate in 4 years. So from 9th to 10th grade, a student needs any 6 credits, and those 6 credits have to be earned in the high school building. We have lots. They take high school courses at the middle school level, such as a world language course or a math course. However, in order to be promoted from 9th to 10th, there's 6 credits that need to be earned in the high school building. To be promoted from 10th to 11th grade, a student would need 12 credits, and amongst those 12 credits, they would have to have successfully completed English 1, English 2, as well as Math 1. And then to move from 11th to 12th grade, the student would need a total of 18 credits, including those 3 courses that I just mentioned. And that is all aligned with the board policy A-PRA/R. And parents have access to all of our board policies and regulations on our CMS website.
Continuing with backwards planning, some other things to consider: is your student a strong math student? Reviewing the highest level of math offered and reviewing the prerequisites that are required. Also considering high-level world language options. Review your school's options and how they are offered. Are they offered on a 4x4, A day or B day, to determine how many your child can enroll in that year? And so that specific statement is referring to high school. At the middle school level with the world language, when the world language is offered, most students will enroll in the world language at the 7th grade year, and they will take half of the content or curriculum 7th grade, and then take the next half of the content or curriculum in 8th grade. and then want to earn college credit, explore the dual enrollment, program through the student's homeschool and enrolling at one of our earlier middle college high schools, which is what Kristen referred to earlier. So your students can get started early. They can make time to review the graduation requirements right along with you. And that way you all can go through them and make sure you understand the benefits of chipping away at the options early to help set them up even better for success. Completing high school credits early allows for more flexibility in the schedule down the road. It allows for additional electives in an area of interest in high school. It allows for options for your child to participate in the career and college promise, or a 3-year graduation option, or early release program, or internships. And then students who begin college credits in middle school are more likely to continue to engage in rigorous coursework during high school. Most colleges like to see at least one math course taken during the student's senior year, and then lower high school stress levels when having to play catch up. And so even if your student is not taking a high school level course in middle school, it still is beneficial for them to understand what the benefits are of early exposure to certain curriculum. They may want to look at taking a more advanced level course in 9th grade based off of how they wrap up the middle school year in 8th grade. And so just go ahead and start exploring the graduation requirements and the options that are available to them early. Credit by demonstrated mastery. So we just want to touch on this one really quickly just to make sure parents are aware that students can show mastery in a course and receive credit for the course without actually taking a course. It's a part of the state board policy. And so this is an option which allows students to demonstrate that mastery by achieving the designated scale score or percent as established by North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and then completing an artifact reflecting content mastery. The school and district cannot deny the student the opportunity to attempt to earn CDM credit, of course, but CDM credit is not available for all courses. There are certain courses, and you can find out more via this link here or by visiting North Carolina DPI website, or reaching out to your school counselor just to get more information, as they have access to this information as well.
So we wanted to provide you some examples of some math trajectory just based on the grade level of your student and what potential courses can be taken and as far as sequencing is concerned. And so we were able to receive this guidance from our district's learning and teaching department. And this is a very helpful visual for you to understand kind of where your student would be depending on the course or the grade level and the course that they wish to take. And so we wanted to make sure that you had access to this and kind of had an idea of what courses your student would take at what grade level. So if you have a very high functioning student that's very interested in math and wants to get to some of our higher level math courses, this can give you some insight on what course they would enroll in each year. Same for world language. This also provides some guidance beginning with 7th grade and what a typical course sequencing or trajectory would look like for students. So some other things to take into consideration as you are working with your child at home and selecting courses going into the upcoming school year. So how involved is your student in extracurricular activities? Are they a travel sports player? Do they do travel cheer or travel dance? And how much time is involved in that? That is important for you to take into consideration when thinking about their academic course load. I think earlier on, we mentioned having a balanced schedule, a healthy balanced schedule. So typically you don't want to overload your child with lots of advanced courses, because what comes with advanced courses means lots of homework, lots of studying. And so how will that conflict with the extracurricular activities that your student is involved in? Does your child manage their time well? Are they organized? That is important too, because As they transition throughout school, middle school and high school, it's important for them to establish some type of routine and be able to manage their time well. Because as they progress, the courses do become more challenging, and so it's important for them to make sure they know what they're getting themselves into when they're selecting courses. It's also important to consider how your child has performed on previous EOGs. My children were not the best test takers. And so that's something that I had to take into consideration when I was working with my child at home and selecting courses. If they're not a strong test taker, we do have several EOCs that are required. However, we have teachers that work with students on test taking strategies. We have counselors that will work with students on test taking strategies. And so that's important for you to maybe seek some extra assistance and guidance because as they matriculate throughout school, they will have various tests that they will have to take. Are you creating a space for your child's interest to be heard in the decision-making process? So that goes back to what are your child's interests? Are they interested in performing or visual arts? Do they have a healthy balance of course selections? So playing on those academic strengths, do they love math and science? So let's enroll in more math and science courses because outside of our core subject areas, we also have elective courses that are geared around math and science in our CTE pathways. And so that's something that you can definitely tap into for your students. What are the mental health, does your child have strong mental health or do they need opportunities to grow as a student before they tap into some of our more advanced level programs? Maturity is key. We don't want to enroll a student early on in high school in something that they should wait until later on in their high school career once they've had time to grow mentally and physically and emotionally. So that's something important to take into consideration as well.
So now we are going to talk about best practice for best outcomes. And so you see listed here some key data points that schools review to determine the course placement for your child. And so just the iReady scores, which is new to this school year. Previous years it was MAP scores, and this year's iReady scores, EOG and EOC scores, their report cards and the grades that they have achieved, honors recommendations from 5th grade to middle school teachers, their attendance records, parent counselor discretion as well. So, you know your student also in regards to that, like Kristen just mentioned, habits at home, study habits, things of that nature. And so sharing that information to the school also so that that can be taken into consideration. And then just a reminder for you to attend the feeder schools open house and Rising 9th grade nights, because they will share with you what specific data points they are looking for to help determine the student's placement, course placement for the grade that they are going to start in the 25-26 school year. And then on this slide, we are just wanted to give you a snapshot of the registration process and some general steps. So what normally happens is what we went over during this presentation, but the classroom lesson presentation that we talked about earlier in regards to school counselors going into the classroom and doing either a lesson on the registration process, or they may do a presentation with the students on the registration process for the upcoming year. After that, the registration cards are distributed. Students receive a registration card to take home, or that you may receive a link from the school via Parent Square, or they may send home a letter with the link in it as well to discuss with your child their course selections for the upcoming year. Next, the completed card is returned to the school that your child is currently enrolled in. Students must return a completed card to their school counselor by the identified date. Remember, we said that there's a registration timeline that the district has in regards to the courses needing to be in Power School by a certain day. And so that's why it's an identified date on that information when it comes home or comes out to you. And then next is card is reviewed by the school counselor. Subsequent to receiving the registration card, the school counselor will review the card And then note that all rising 9th and 12th grade students will have a one-on-one advisement meeting with the high school counselor to discuss their course selections. And so if your child is currently in the 8th grade, if they are at the school that they're going to is receiving 25 or more students, then the high school will send representatives to that school to sit with your child one-on-one to register for high school. If they're going to a school that middle school is sending less than 25, then their 8th grade counselor is going to sit with them to go through the registration card in regards to filling it out completely and making sure that it's accurate with the information that needs to be submitted to ensure that their enrollment information is there as needed for the high school. And then the last is schedule. The schedule is generated in Power School. So once the selections have been confirmed by the counselors, the schedule for the upcoming school year will be generated in Power School. And so earlier, Kristen mentioned a parent resource. This link will be dropped into the Q&A. When you open the link, what you will see is that there are many of the resources that we have mentioned throughout the presentation. There are hyperlinks there for you to click on and open up. You can actually be able to see the lessons that we were talking about that the counselors are doing with the 6th through 12th graders as well. There's information about the graduation requirements and things of that nature, things that you've seen us go over in this presentation, where you can actually open the link and save a copy yourself and be able to review it after this presentation, or when your child comes home, and go over it with them as well. Or you can scan the QR code that's on the screen also. And then we just want to remind you again that your feedback is very important about this presentation. If you did not capture the link earlier, if you will capture the link now for this bit.ly to be able to give feedback to our family engagement team so that they will know how beneficial this information was to you and what type of information you would like to see coming forward throughout the remainder of the school year. And so we know that there were many questions that were still in the Q&A, and some may have been added. And so now we'll take the time to go work through the remainder of the questions.
Thank you, team and families. Thank you for your engagement. We have had some wonderful questions related to this topic. To dive right in, if you transfer in from a different high school and there isn't a direct one-to-one on some of the coursework, is there a resource that shows what classes already taken may carry over for a needed credit? For example, if my child took world religion, would that be used towards a history credit?
That's a wonderful question. We have lots of students that transition in and out of our high schools. Our school counselors have what's called a credit detail document that they use to complete or review the student's previous transcript from their prior high school. And then they use our courses that we offer in CMS to determine what the equivalent would be. So if it's a world religion course, that would typically be a social studies elective, because we require a world history credit, and sometimes the content does not align. The guidance that school counselors have received is to consult with someone in their school building, in the social studies department or whatever department the course would fall under, to determine the best equivalency for the course that they're bringing in.
Thank you. We have many families who have asked about sharing this presentation. It will be added to the Family Academy on demand page, as well as an FAQ document for some of these great questions, and the slide presentation will be able to be viewed there. Another family question has asked, I recently learned that North Carolina does not require world language to be taken in order to graduate. Would this still be recommended for a high school student, especially if they plan to attend college?
Absolutely. We don't require world languages to graduate any longer. However, if you have a student that is pursuing college, we strongly recommend at least 2 levels of a world language. As a counselor, I always recommend it. If a student could go beyond 2, the better, because it makes them more competitive when they are applying to colleges.
Thank you. For a high school student that might be interested in a CTE pathway, will they still receive a high school diploma?
Yes. The CTE pathways typically to complete a pathway, you have to complete anywhere from 2 to 4 courses, and those would be just amongst the 8 electives that a student would have to earn to graduate. So they have to have 8 electives as a part of their 24, and those CTE courses would count.
Thank you. How do I register my child for a school that is not within their zone school?
I would direct you to the student placement website. The second lottery, I believe, ended on Friday. However, I do know that there's a reassignment and transfer process. I just am not sure what those dates are.
Thank you. When do new to CMS students get access to things such as the Launchpad, Power School, or any of the apps that will be needed for high school?
Read that one more time for me, please.
When would a new to CMS student get access to the apps that they would need for high school, such as Launchpad or Power School?
So typically, on the day of enrollment, once the student has officially enrolled in a high school or middle school, that ID number would allow them access to any of the apps that they would need.
Thank you. If a child has taken language at one of the language immersion schools, such as SAIL in middle school, does that qualify as their language requirement for high school?
So I can answer that because I'm actually a parent of a SEL student who is an 8th grader going to high school. And so she has been at SEL all of her education career. When we just filled out her registration card. And so when she goes to South Mech, she will continue with level 3 of that language because she would have met the requirements for level 1 and 2 since she's been at SEL since kindergarten. So it depends. I was going to say, well, it depends also if your child how long your child has been at SEL, because I think 2 years ago, they began to allow students to enroll at the 6th grade level. And so if they only have been at SEL for the middle school part of their educational journey, then that requirement, it will look a little different. They may not start at that level, depending on if they had exposure before they enrolled at SEL. So that will be a great question to confirm with the high school counselors when they go over to SEL to register those middle school students who will continue on to South Mech or whatever high school that they are going to, so that they can confirm if they've met the requirement to continue to level 2 or level 3, or if they need to do some relooping in regards to language. You can go ahead, Kristen.
I was just going to say world language isn't a requirement to graduate. So those world languages that they transfer from a school like SAIL or Collinswood would just count as elective credit for the high school at the high school level.
Thank you. My son is an 8th grader. Will he be automatically enrolled to a CMS high school, or will I need to do any online registration?
That's a great question.
So he will be enrolled in the feeder high school for the area that you lived in if you did not participate in the lottery and get an assignment of a different school through the lottery. And so if either he's going to continue on to the neighborhood high school or the high school that's within the area that you live in, the feeder high school for his middle school, or he will continue to the high school that he has been assigned if you all did participate in the lottery.
Thank you. How should we approach middle schools for enrollment when transitioning from a magnet elementary school? When is the best time to enroll?
You said when transitioning from a magnet elementary school?
Yes.
And so I'm going to assume that this parent is saying that they are not going to continue with whatever the feeder magnet school would be for their student, and they're going to their neighborhood middle school. Then they would have needed to make that known in registration or student placement in regards to if they did not plan to continue to the feeder magnet middle school. And so that makes sure that reassignment does is then applied to the neighborhood middle school. And once that happens, when the middle school sees their child's name on their transition list, that counselor should reach out to that student to make sure that they get the registration information for their school. If they have not heard anything, I would say at least by the end of the second week of February, if not the first, if the first would not be too soon, I encourage them to reach out to the middle school that they are planning for their child to go to, if it's not the continuing magnet feeder.
Thank you. Is PE offered as a summer course for students?
I would say no, not at the high school level. If they're asking about high school specifically.
Not at the middle school level either.
Although this is a requirement to graduate, what are the minimum high school requirements for entry into the North Carolina college system or any private institutes like Duke University?
Our high school graduation requirements meet the UNC minimum requirements for colleges.
My student took Advanced Algebra 1. What is that equivalent to?
What grade level the student took it? Did they take it at a CMS school? Was it from out of district?
Yes, if you want to add additional details, I will check that
Okay.
question
Yeah.
again at the end of our Q&A. A parent was informed that there are online classes that high school students can take. Not sure if that applies to advanced placement classes. So can middle school students get these classes as well? Can middle school students attend online courses within CMS?
The online courses that middle school students have had access to is in regards to some of those NC-VPS courses that Kristen referenced earlier in the past, and that has been specifically for language in some cases, and in other cases, potentially for like Math 1, if there was not a teacher that was available to teach Math 1, but that student was ready to advance to the next level of math. Those are the only options that middle school students have had the opportunity to take advanced courses online.
Thank you. My 8th grader is in a CMS magnet program, but will not be going to the high school that the magnet program feeds into and will be attending our zone school. Should they register with a magnet program high school since it's a CMS transfer window to switch to our homeschool doesn't open until March?
So
That's a good
the
question.
first thing that came to mind for me was whether or not they participated in the lottery. For, again, example, using myself, we had to complete the lottery to confirm that she was going to continue at the feeder magnet high school, because we had to select what language. So if they did not participate in the lottery, I would have them reach out to student placement to confirm if they have already reassigned that student to the home school for the area where they live. If it's not that, if they are not going to attend that homeschool where they currently live and they're moving, like Kristen said earlier, then the first thing that would need to happen is the address change. And of course, there are documents they have to provide in order for that to take place before they can even be considered to register for registration for the high school if they're moving out of the neighborhood that they are currently in.
Thank you. The high school registration information says that all students should sign up for 2 CTE pathways. Could you provide more information on what this means?
CTE pathways?
Yes, the question says that the high school registration information says, in quote, all students should register for 2 CTE pathways. What does this mean? If you want to send
I'm
more
not, no, I'm
information
not,
on that
okay.
question, I can add our email into the Q&A, and we'll make sure that that
Yes,
question gets to the right people to answer as well.
because I'm curious about what, where that information lives. Because that's not guidance that specifically comes from our department. And so I'm just curious, because I know students have to have two either CTE world language or arts courses among their 8 electives that they have to graduate. So I'm wondering, is that what the question is referencing, or is the school guiding parents to select actually 2 pathways, which I'm not familiar with that guidance being communicated, and so I would just need some additional information.
Thank you. Um, One family says that their student is currently enrolled in a magnet elementary school within the TD program. They were enrolled through the lottery. Will they automatically be transferred to a TD middle school if they do not re-enter the lottery, or will she be placed at their home school?
Molly, can you read that one more time just so I can make sure I have all the
Yes.
information?
So the student was enrolled in a TD lottery magnet school
Mm-hmm.
at elementary school. Will
Okay.
they automatically move to the TD middle school program, or will they be placed at their home school within their zone?
Okay. So if the school where they are goes to the 8th grade, they will continue at that school for the middle school program unless the parent has let the student placement know that they are not going to continue and they want them to go to their neighborhood school. For the when students participate in a magnet program at elementary level, the assumption is that they're going to continue to the middle school level program magnet feeder unless a parent communicates that to student placement that they are not.
Thank you. The next question is that the family has a 4th grade student that is at a magnet elementary school. They were originally in the magnet program, but were removed from it as they now serve the neighborhood school and they live within the zone. Will they need, when it comes to enrollment for middle school, will they need to do a new application in the magnet lottery to continue with the program, since they were switched from being in the magnet program to being a homeschool student as the school serves both?
They would have needed to do a lottery application. And again, like Kristen mentioned earlier, the second lottery ended last Friday. And so that period has passed, but they can go to the student placement website to see what the requirements are to be considered to request a transfer if that's something that they're interested in, to see if they would qualify for that option. But because they withdrew from or transfer out of the magnet program at the school that houses both neighborhood students and the magnet program, they would have needed to apply for the lottery for the middle school program that those kids that are in the magnet program would feed into.
Thank you. The next family shares that they have an 8th grade student who has already completed Math 1 and 2. When they move to high school, will they automatically enroll in Math 3 and end up maxing out all of the high school math offerings?
So Math 3 would be the next course in their course sequencing. And then after Math 3, there are several options that the student can enroll in, and they wouldn't necessarily max out. They would have other math options that they could enroll in to get to a math by senior year. So yeah, Math 3 is our next selection.
Thank you. If a middle school does not have honors, social studies, or science, will my student automatically be able to get into the honors or AP history and science courses in high school?
So there are honors level science and social studies courses that can be considered for a 9th grader. Again, as we talked about, some of the data points that the high school would look at to see if that student is ready for that level of course. So that would be something that the student would talk to the high school counselor about when they come and visit them. Definitely, if the parent has not gone to the info night or registration night at the high school and is coming up, when they go to that, they can definitely talk to them about that as well. But they can select it on their card, but when the high school counselor look at the card, they're going to look at those data points in history for the student in regards to grades and things of that nature to see if that student would be the best candidate to go into that advanced level science or math that they may offer.
Thank you. I believe we have answered all of the questions within the Q&A. Families, if any of your questions were not answered today, I have added the email address of familyengagement@cms.k12.nc.us into the Q&A. Please email your questions to our team and we'll make sure that they are added into the Q&A or the FAQ that will be published and that they are answered accordingly.